Okay, we're going to go ahead and move into week 6 of the Masters in Healthcare Administration 575. I want to talk about Lean Six Sigma. Lean is actually focusing on eliminating waste, so we want to eliminate like extra steps that staff may take, so maybe having supplies closer by where they are located, eliminating resources or supplies that are not needed, because any kind of wasted inventory is also wasted money for a company, including a healthcare facility. Again, looking at the steps, you can do spaghetti diagrams. We'll talk about those next week, I think it is. Again, just looking at your steps, making it convenient for wherever items are required for the staff to do their job, that it's not causing them a lot of toll and work to get to it. While doing this, you still need to make sure that you have high quality in your production and the organizational processes are still in place from a quality perspective. So the second part of this, Six Sigma, it is actually looking at Six Sigma principles, and it's more of a statistical component in healthcare, looking at eliminating defects, and you want to decrease variations in processes. It can help streamline, it can help reduce costs, patient safety can be a huge benefit. So they are looking at no more than 3.4 per million defects, and it was created by Motorola in their quality control department. So again, a very finite, small amount of defects per million. In healthcare, a defect is defined as a factor that leads to a patient dissatisfaction. This gives you a visual of this DPMO, the defects per million opportunities. So again, you can see at the very top of this pyramid is the Six Sigma. So you've got the 3.4 defects targeted per million. So again, just looking at really decreasing variation and having a very statistical sound quality initiative in place. If you hear the word Gemba walk, it's actually, take it to the Gemba, take it to the front line. You want to go where the real thing is happening, or the real place, the real location. It was originated in Japan, and you're really going out there and you're doing your walk around. You have a very focused review as part of your process, and you're looking at the front lines. What's really happening? Do we have any workarounds? And you'd be amazed when you go out there and truly focus on a project, do your Gemba walk, what you will find. So it is focusing on that attention of the process, what can be improved, what are you really seeing, what are you observing, what is the flow. So again, it's very critical to go out there and do these Gemba walks. You also can kind of build this into when you're doing your walk-arounds as a manager or a leader, or even as with tracers. But a Gemba walk is really specifically going out and trying to find out where are there opportunities, what are you reviewing, and what processes have opportunities to improve. A Kaizen event is actually a very deep dive process improvement meeting event. So it's usually, if you do it to its truest definition, it's a 3 to 5 day breakaway where staff, they're scheduled full days, 3 to 5 days where they are doing nothing but working on a process improvement event to come up with a good outcome. Sometimes this is hard to do. So what I know we have done at our facility, and I think other hospitals have as well, we break this up. Sometimes we do some half days, sometimes we do some quick 1 hour to 2 hour Kaizen meetings. So we might do a lot more meetings, but to get the staff at the front, from the front lines to the meetings, that sometimes is what you have to do. So sometimes you have to be a little creative, I guess is what I'm trying to say. At these Kaizen events, you are going to be doing training. So whoever's your master black belt or your black belt, they, along with the green belt, who have all been trained and certified to conduct these Kaizen events, they're going to do training with the staff that are on site to do the review and to come up with ideas. Going to be working on defining the goal. What is the problem? What is the goal? What is current state? What is going on in real time? What is the real action of what's going on? You're going to do some brainstorming, developing what you want your future state to look like. Again, there's a lot of tools that flow into helping this to happen. You're going to work on implementation of these ideas and brainstorming that you have in place. Develop your follow-up. You need to have that follow-up. You need to be able to, again, be thinking about how are you going to sustain. You also need to work on how are you going to do your presentation. You've done all this hard work. How are you going to present it to the leaders to get them to buy in and support what you think is a wonderful idea or plan? And then how are you going to roll that out to your staff? And then never ever forget you need to celebrate. I think so many times we do really great work and then we don't stop and smell the roses. So you really do have to celebrate. You need to make sure that staff that have been involved with these processes, they are appreciated for this extra work that they have done, and just really make sure that that positive feedback is circulated back to those people. DIMAC. DIMAC is an acronym that actually stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, Control. It's data driven, and it's very similar to what we've already talked about with the Plan, Do, Check, Act, Plan, Do, Study Act. So it's a methodology, and it's integrating the Six Sigma initiative. It's usually it can be used as a standalone. It can be used as part of another improvement project, but it's just very similar. But again, the DIMAC is very specifically used when you start working on and studying with Six Sigma. So if you hear that word and that acronym, that is really tied in with Six Sigma. So the DIMAC, the 5 phases. You got your define, so you're going to look at what the problem is, what do you need to improve, where's the opportunity, what's your goal, customer base, internal, external. Going to be looking at measuring your process performance, doing the analysis, are there any root causes you need to look into, poor performance, those defects. How are you going to improve it? How are you going to address it? How are you going to eliminate the root causes that you have found from this analysis? How do you control it? How do you sustain your improvement efforts? This gives you kind of a visual. Again, it's very similar to some of the different images we've seen for Plan, Do, Study, Act, Plan, Do, Check, Act. So again, it just lends itself very well to doing that quality improvement. And so Joanne, who is one of the leaders that we've talked about before in healthcare quality and in quality improvement, also came up with this process as well. Here's another example. It goes through the DIMAC at the top, and then it kind of illustrates under each area some different tools you may want to use. You'll see the Pareto charting, fishbone diagram, the process mapping. That would be really good to use when you're doing your Gemba walk. You may also hear that called the spaghetti diagram. So it kind of ties in all the different processes, different tools you may use, what is each one of them looking at. So again, it just kind of gives you a different visual to see what all of this is all about. So single page summary of this DIMAC. They call it an A3. And I want to say that I also shared an A3 that I had completed in week 1 of the syllabus. So this one, they're just taking each of the different cells or squares and highlighting one of the different areas. So the define, measure, analyze, implement, control. So they're going through each one. Some of them they're embedding graphs that they've completed. Some of them may just be content or steps that they've done for the recommendations, but you can kind of see at a glance what all has been done for this process improvement project. So it's all at a glance summary, and again, it's called an A3. So Six Sigma Black Belt. The black belts, they're the leads. They are the mentors for the business or the healthcare. They are also working with the green belts and other associates or other staff members. They have that tactical responsibility. They need to execute the project. They need to keep everyone on task. They are also going to be really working with the ones who are the champions and the sponsors and creating change that's going to be sustained. They also lead Six Sigma knowledge transfer, so they're doing teaching. They're making sure that they can do some just-in-time teaching with different tools for the participants of that Kaizen event. They are also creating an open, safe environment. Sometimes people can get very passionate when they're meeting for these Kaizen events because you're kind of upsetting the apple cart. You may be proposing ideas that they may not think work. They may be a little territorial because, again, you got frontline staff there involved. That's okay. But one thing that the black belts are to do is to make it a safe environment for everyone to speak up, and that includes sharing their concerns. You want to hear all ideas. You don't want to eliminate any. So again, those add value to the process. So the deliverables for the black belt: they're going to execute the projects. They're going to help guide, act as a resource. They're going to eliminate barriers. They're going to help with that team and that project structuring. They're going to use the Six Sigma tools and look at the results from a statistical standpoint. It's kind of hard to say. They're going to do that mentoring, that teaching also to the green belts, and then they're going to share best practices. Again, keeping everyone on focus with what is really value added if there's best practices to tie in. Green belts. The green belts are kind of a work engine. They can be a workhorse. Oftentimes they can do the lead with the black belts kind of consulting them, or they may work in union with the black belt. But again, they're leading change. They're helping to do the team project structuring. They're project oriented. They too are sharing best practices. Again, it takes a village, it takes a team to make this happen. So the green belts, they don't have as much hours of training as a certified black belt does, but again, they have had training and they are adding value to that process improvement effort. The yellow belts, I've often heard them described just as the participants right there for the Kaizen event, that you're doing that just-in-time training with them, and they are learning as you move along, and they are called the yellow belts. So they are a co-owner. They are the frontline people. They have, their fingers in the pie of what's being worked on, what needs to be done. They are truly going to help you to move the project in the right direction. They also are going to help be the advocates out when they return to the front lines of having others adopt the process. So they're going to have basic knowledge of what Six Sigma is. They don't do the lead. They're just more of in a supportive role, but they're working under direction of the green belt and black belt. So they are a core member. They're going to have subject expertise. So they're going to really know the frontline process that you're working on, and then they're going to help bring true highlights of what the workarounds are, what needs to be changed, and then offer additional ideas from the staff that they work with. This is the last slide, and it just kind of again tells you some of the layers with the yellow belt, green belt, black, and then the master black belt. So the master black belt, they also can do teaching, training to all the other levels. I know that for the Hospital Engagement Network, that has been a national endeavor, and with our Indiana Hospital Association, some of the funding that we received, we had many people across the state that were able to participate in training paid for by grants from ARC, for example, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and CMS, to further drill down issues in our healthcare organizations and to improve our lean projects and to decrease defects and to improve processes. So statewide, there's been many more green belts and black belts that have been trained and are active in the healthcare setting. Always keep in mind, if you ever have an opportunity in your facility to do that additional training, whether it be green belt, black belt training, any kind of team steps, any of these kind of items, always reach out and say, yes, I want to be involved. Yes, I want to have this teaching. It's always going to make you a stronger person in your leadership role, and it's going to help you understand, again, more of those safety initiatives. It's going to drive patient safety and help make everything stronger and make you an excellent leader.